Hello, we're live.
Hello, hello.
Oh God, I don't feel alive. I feel dead,
It really
but
sounds
I'm
like it.
here. So let's just start off by just talking about how shit my luck is. So 2 weeks ago, I think it's 2 weeks. I think it's like the end of 2 weeks ago. I have to double check the timeline. Yeah, about it was like 2 weeks ago, but it was really like a week and some change ago, right? Got sick, and it was like a summer cold kind of deal. Just snot. It was nothing but snot. I I did not know the human body could produce snot at such an accelerated rate. And I personally have phlegm issues and like postnasal drip issues. So it just makes it super bad for me. And there were some nights I was literally drowning in snot, like having to cough it up or I couldn't breathe. Cut to, like a full week of that, pretty much, until 2 days ago, I think. 2 days ago or yesterday. I think it's 2 days ago. Well, I guess it was yesterday mostly. 2 days ago, I was still really suffering from that sickness. But and I took a COVID test like end of last week, I think, or really beginning of this week. I can't remember. I think it was the beginning of this week, Sunday, Monday. I took a COVID test, no COVID. So just a summer cold. But COVID enters the house, and I get COVID like 2 days ago. And so I just exit one sickness into COVID. I gotta tell you though, as strange as this sounds, I prefer the COVID.
Yeah, because you can actually fucking breathe.
Yeah, like the snot and coughing up everything, and like I would have violent coughing fits frequently. Like super violent coughing fits. And it was exhausting. Like literally most of the time, I'd cough myself into just like a stupor. I couldn't do anything after that. It was just physically exhausting to cough and sneeze. Have a like and a sub. Good stream. Cool.
See,
And also DNF. I love DNF dual stuff. If that's what it's related to. If not, then still, you get props for having DNF in your name.
you know what? It's really interesting you say that because you are literally the absolute opposite of me when I caught COVID. Because I was like that. Like I was coughing endlessly. Like I was at that point where like I just couldn't speak, and like because I coughed myself absolutely hoarse. Because I got sick, and worst part, I got sick when I was out of the country. And little known fact, America has the absolute bomb when it comes to cold meds. A lot of other countries don't have good cold medicine. So essentially going off COVID just raw. And that was, I just kind of was just bedridden playing Hollow Knight because it's all I could do. So it's very interesting. It's hit you in like the polar opposite way of me. So also, I never got a fever when I got COVID.
That's crazy. Yeah, with the variants and everything, it just hits everyone slightly differently.
Yeah. Well, also, I will say, I don't know why. I think it's a genetic thing. Like, my family, we never get fevers. Well, my dad does, but like my mom, my brother, my sister, and I, like, we've never gotten fevers.
I
We
would
just
say I'm a normal
I don't
person
know
and
why.
I get fevers right like as much as anyone else would. So
Yeah, I don't know. I've gotten fevers like once or twice in my life, like years and years ago, and I remember being like, "What the fuck is going on? Like, why, what is this? What does this mean?" And it was like, "Oh, it's a fever," and I'm like, "What the? Do normal people get this?" Like, yeah, often. It's like, whoa, how can you live with this?
yeah, it's pretty rough. I recently just broke my fever. I uh I had I remember waking up yesterday and it was like 90, oh goodness, what was it? I think it's like 98 something. And then I took my temperature. I've been taking my temperature pretty regularly because at one point last night it was 100.8,
Damn.
which is a pretty high fever. You're supposed to go to the hospital if it ever gets like 103 point something. To be fair though, those 2 degrees are a lot. So, but my fever was so high, like using the restroom, I could feel how hot my body was. Is the cleanest way I can put it. Like it was really rough. And if you can hear now, I'm pretty sure everyone can tell. My throat's a little messed up at the moment. Our room is very dry, which is good for someone who has snot issues like me, because I don't like drown in snot necessarily. But I don't know. There's something about COVID as well that it's just been dry. It's been dry compared to what I had before, which to me is great. I'll take a scratchy throat over like drowning in snot any day. Oh God, I've almost coughed myself unconscious a few times. Just how much, like I cough so much I start seeing sparks in my vision.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's just because like it's like that bronchial mucus and you just gotta cough it up, and I just have mucus problems already, so
Well, if you still got like rough, scratchy, sore throat, I'll always tout my good old home remedy for it. Just get blasted on Drambuie whiskey. It works. It was like if like 2 weeks of like the absolute worst, like just throat in like a horrible state, and then Drambuie was like a breath of fresh air. I just felt fine. The only bad part is that Drambuie is pricey.
that's fair.
It's
I don't
really
know.
good.
If it's like a buzz kind of thing, it might not be as good for me though.
I mean, that's fair. It's mainly because like if you have any sort of inflammation in your throat, whiskey does actually like help fight inflammation. Like that is a true thing. And also another thing that helps combat just sore throats in general is honey, and it is honeyed whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
So literally two birds, one stone, and then you're also feeling good.
Yeah, I had to look into it again because I know if you have the red hair gene, you need extra stuff when it comes to things like sedatives and everything like that. I'm not sure if it's the same for anti-inflammatories. It might be though.
I don't know. I just remember like because I did that fix while we were playing like video games together, and like yeah, no, that was like that the reason I was able to stay on the call and continue talking was because I was drinking Drambuie. If I wasn't, I probably would have had to dip a little earlier than I did.
Yeah, one good thing about having post-nasal drip issues is it makes your throat very lubricated, so you don't get sore throats that often.
God, that'd be, you know what? That the like besides all the other parts, like that's pretty nice.
Yeah,
I get sore throats like constantly. I hate it.
I don't that often. I do on occasion, though. I won't say it prevents it, but it definitely makes it pretty easy. Like, honestly, despite all those coughing fits, my throat completely fine. With how violently I was coughing, my throat never got scuffed. After COVID, it's been getting a bit more scuffed because it's been a lot drier. So, yeah, mucus is there. It's your friend sometimes. It's supposed to help. That's why we produce it after all, but oh god. You know, the other worst part as well, the constant drainage. Like, it was so much, my stomach just never felt right. Because it's probably just full of snot. I'm pretty good though. I know what I need to do, and so I've been eating and trying to keep my calorie count up, because when you're sick, you gotta keep your calories up. Because it actually is very hard for your body to manage sickness, and it's very exhausting. So you gotta keep your food up as much as you can. Obviously not to the point of vomiting, but you know, up to that point. Because even fevers, like it's your body is working hard to give you a fever, you know, because it's trying to kill whatever's inside you. So it's really important to eat food.
Yeah.
I've been pretty good about it recently. As much as I can. For the days that I'm just unconscious for like 18 hours, it's really hard, obviously, to have a high calorie count. High enough anyway. But, yeah. So, sickness aside, I think we can finally stop talking about snot. Which I'm glad, because I've had enough of that. Let's talk about today's subject, which is that D&D and Pathfinder are half-baked. Hey, Dead Phoenix, how you doing?
Oh shit, actually, just real quick before we fully go in.
Sure.
I know the poll got posted a little later, but like, are the results right now like the results? Like, of the poll?
Let's see. The poll was done. It should be a week.
See, it's 4 days ago, but like, I'm saying you could stop the count right now.
No, we still got some time. It's until this Sunday.
I mean, like, you could just pull it, you know, like.
I mean,
no reason.
2 points.
No reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're in a pretty good state right now.
I love how they both were 50-50.
I know.
For the longest time.
It was really funny.
Actually, speaking of, before we get into our topic, I've been very pleasantly surprised. I've missed a lot of content. I missed a lot of content. Last week, I didn't post any archetype videos. I only posted my final thoughts video, which even my worst archetype videos do 3 times better than that. So, you know, that was pretty much a non-week for me. And even this week, I haven't posted anything today. I couldn't have. I had a fever the last 2 days. And I probably won't post anything for the rest of this week. So this has been this was the worst time for me to get sick, and not only sick, but sick back to back for 2 weeks. The vampire video only came out, I have to say too, because that footage was already on my computer. That was the only reason why that one actually came out. If it wasn't, I just wouldn't have posted anything extra that week. And you know what's funny? Riptide literally was at the end of the summer sickness and like right before COVID.
Yeah, like slotted itself right in there.
So, yeah, we were supposed to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of this month. That's not gonna happen. We'll be lucky if it happens next month at some point. But I have to say though, despite me not posting much, we've still been getting like 3+ subscribers a day, which is not bad.
Hell yeah.
The numbers have been up. We're at 889 today, thanks to DNF Dead. And we'll be at 900 soon, and then we're just in the final stretch to 1,000. But yeah, my sickness literally came at the worst time because this is supposed to be my busiest month. I was supposed to finish up the B archetypes last week, and this week I was supposed to do the A to B archetype tier list. And that ain't happening. And worse yet, in the algorithm's eyes, you fuck up for 2 weeks, you're like shadow banned for a month almost. Like the algorithm won't help you if you fuck up. It's really really bad. So fortunately, I should be fine for the later part of this month. We got a cool interview coming up in a couple weeks.
Hell yeah.
And we also have we have some other fun stuff kind of planned as well. When the Dark Archive stuff becomes available, which is on the 11th, hopefully I can start making content on that, and I'm going to just be pumping out Dark Archive content. It's been so rough. If I had 1,000 subscribers, I could have gotten some review material. It's just been unlucky overall. But, you know, we wouldn't be the Bad Luck Gamer channel if bad luck wasn't a factor.
Exactly, it's on brand.
It's too on brand. I wish it would stop being as on brand. Anyway, let's talk about why D&D and Pathfinder are mid.
Oh shit. Alright. Right out the gates.
I gotta say though, first of all, D&D and Pathfinder are both great games, and people have obviously had a lot of fun in them. I mean, D&D is popular for a reason, and Pathfinder is my favorite game. Anima's also mid.
No, that you can't say that.
It is.
That's not okay.
Well, okay, here's my...
It's okay to be wrong.
No, you're wrong. Fuck
You're
you.
wrong. Fuck you.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
Here's my reasoning, right? So, what gives you the most XP in tabletop?
Murder.
Yes, correct. It's fighting stuff. I'm just ignoring you, Devin. I hope you know. Everything you type, I've just chosen to forget about.
I mean, he is right. Like,
mechanically speaking, you should get XP for things like combat.
yeah. I think someone made a really funny observation of, like, wizards get stronger by leaving the library and killing monsters than they do studying. Like, why the fuck would you go to college? Just murder.
And here's another question, right? What gets the players more loot and more money in tabletop?
More murder.
More murder, that's correct. Now, Phoenix is pseudo-correct here. Usually, like, big quest stuff can give XP. Now, technically, in Pathfinder, you still get way more XP fighting shit. Like, a monumental achievement is like 80 XP in Pathfinder. but fighting a creature 3 levels above you is 80 XP. Or fighting 2 creatures uh of your level is the same. So, like in Pathfinder and D&D, I mean D&D doesn't even have any like strict guidelines, I don't think, on giving XP for like accomplishments.
Nope.
But let's say it's like 500 XP, right? That sounds like an appropriate number in D&D. That's still, over the course of a quest, pales in comparison to the amount of XP you got from killing things. And then, most of the time, you get most of your loot from picking off enemies, looting dungeons, all that kind of stuff. Now, in Pathfinder, it's been a little different because, like, in a lot of my Pathfinder games, I give my players a lot of gold for finishing missions. Typically more than they find, like, in dungeons. But we don't do a lot of dungeon delving either, very typically. So, but I definitely know that there's like modules and stuff like that where the players find most of their loot from chests and loot piles and such.
Yeah. Like most of the in-universe economy is just sitting idly in like decrepit locations.
Yeah, right. It's silly. So, there's nothing different from a mechanical standpoint. There's nothing different from running a tabletop game as there is from like a strategy board game, you know, or an RPG board game. It's, to be fair, tabletop is more than that. You get fun for role playing and having character arcs and everything like that, and you can get unique things by going through character arcs, usually by killing stuff. Not always, but you know, you get power usually from killing stuff. Tabletop games are really bad at giving players XP or giving players any tangible benefits from actually interacting with the world and like doing things as characters would do in that world. Right? That's why the whole murder hobo thing became a thing, because murder hobos just cut out the middleman and they just went for loot and XP by killing everything. They didn't need to roleplay because it gave them no benefits. Now, I will say, Pathfinder's a little less mid because it actually has feats that you use in social situations. Sometimes you get feats that allow you to do some things in exploration mode. Pathfinder actually has a good system for making an income. I love how D&D is like, yeah, you can make an income too, and then gives you almost nothing on how to do it. Especially when Adventure League gives you tons of downtime days to do nothing with.
Yeah, because I always felt like I was doing it wrong. Because it was like, am I just not getting everything I can? It's like, oh no, it's just the downtime days. Like, system is kind of half-baked.
There's nothing in it. And, I mean, that's a different conversation altogether. People have managed to get by with D&D. And there's no doubt that this channel has a bias when it comes to the conversation. But that's not what we're here about. I think that these games offer nothing in the way of interacting with NPCs or building connections between your character and like the actual game setting, right? So there's absolutely no reason for this, and it's because the formula is designed based on what used to be wargaming, more or less. D&D came about because they're just like, hey, let's play war games, only we play the characters. Rather than
Like whole battalions of people.
Yeah, rather than whole battalions of people. We play Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli instead of, the Riders of Rohan or whatever. And so, everything's been kind of building off the back of D&D's success. Every game system after that point, almost, there are some exceptions, have been building off the idea that this is a war game or a board game with role-playing elements in it, where you tell story in between story elements. And I think that's kind of a shame, because there are other role-playing games out there that you get a lot of really good stuff out of interacting with the world or interacting with NPCs. I got an idea on one, but can you think of a game, Alex, that does something similar?
That doesn't give you XP based on like combat?
No, I can do that too.
Because the one I'm primarily thinking of is like, it's a video game, not a tabletop
That's
game.
Fine.
Is like Disco Elysium. Because Disco Elysium gives you a lot of XP for talking to people and exploring and learning things. And besides, there's like, I think only like 2 to 3 times you actually get to throw a punch in that game.
Yeah, it's not that many. That's true. That's a good game. And it feels rewarding, right? It feels rewarding to kind of figure things out. Yeah,
and then there's even an in-game thing where you can get a thought that gives you XP for each bubble you click. XP and money. So like then it incentivizes you to really scour the landscape. Like learn so much about this world. Yeah, there's Hobo Cop gives you money for each green orb you click, and then one of the rational ones give you for every like blue orb, which is pretty common, you get 1 XP for it.
Huh. Weird.
Yeah, it's how you can like get really good in hardcore mode, because hardcore mode's like all the checks are way higher. It essentially gives you like, I think there's a combination of stuff you can do, and then for every single blue passive check you get like XP as well. So essentially for playing the game you get like, I want to say like 30 free levels for just picking these 2 things.
Well, David, not necessarily what we're talking about. We're not talking about like just XP and just gold. I'm just saying that incentive-wise, in tabletop, you're only really incentivized to do combat actions or to participate in combats. Not always. Again, there are definitely games out there that have done a lot of political, social stuff, whatever.
Like VCM.
But the mechanics only give you rewards for combat stuffs, really. I mean, that's why D&D and Pathfinder have loot tables for encounters, It's, the games themselves do not give you a lot. And I have another game reference as well. And that is Persona 5, because that's the only Persona I've really played. Because Persona 5 has a lot of combat stuff.
Yeah.
But you also get more powerful when you talk to your fellow NPCs and get into their storylines and heck, you get stats for eating a burger.
I will say Persona 5, having played the 3 that matter. Sorry P1 and P2 fans. Sorry, not sorry. But like Persona 5 is the best at giving out those rewards. Like, because the other ones are like, you can do better fusions. These ones are like, here's battle, like skills you can use in battle based on these characters.
Yeah.
I played P2. It was fine. It was not Persona 3 or 4. Like, I'm sorry. Well, I played one of the P2s. I know there's like 2 versions of it.
I think that Phoenix is just your nemesis.
It's very funny.
But yeah, and there are a lot of games out there that provide bonuses for your character interacting with you know, not just combat, but for doing other stuff. Now, I gotta say, not every game does it well. Not every game has good writing, first of all. But in Disco Elysium, which was a good example, like, you genuinely feel happy getting to know Kim.
Oh yeah, if you're mean to Kim, fuck you.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing it for the achievement, and then you have to immediately restart and be nice to him.
It's, you know, it's like, when you get to know, actually getting to know a lot of the characters in it is really fascinating.
Yeah. Like, I really liked getting the bartender to actually like me more. Like, apologize to him.
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of that because I've been playing a Sorry Cop run.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, it's one of those things where, like, in Disco Elysium, you find out world-shattering information only by talking with NPCs.
Yeah, like, that bit where I learned, and I will not spoil it, because y'all need to experience it. Because I heard,
Well,
like, oh yeah,
you can call it the Pale. We can say it's the Pale.
The Pale. Like, it's the thing of, like, learning that, like, having someone explain it, I was like, oh, holy shit, okay.
And not only that, but they explain it to you like, man, something is wrong with you. How can you not know? It's like saying, how can you not know there's an ocean in the world? Like, that's how world-shattering it is.
It's insane. Like, that game is so cool. There's so many, like, amazing things it does. It's one of the few times a game has won, like, a Game of the Year thing, or an award at the Game Awards, and I'm, like, completely 100% deserved.
Right.
'Cause it won Best Written. It was up against some, like, contenders, because that was, like, a good year for games.
Well, yeah, Flak Armor, but the thing is that's only determined by the DM with no structure around it. See, this is what I'm talking about. D&D and Pathfinder are great games because they exist 90% in your imagination, and you can do whatever you want with the game systems. But the systems themselves do not reward or have any motivation for players to actually interact with characters. Like, if you're reading the book, nothing tells you anywhere. I know, because I've read both of the systems pretty thoroughly through. Nothing tells you anything about what can be gained from interacting with NPCs. So, that leads to the point of, then how can you expect your players to intuitively do that, you know? You can't. And again, this is why Murder Hobos came about. Because they just cut out the middleman. And not only that, but players definitely have very strong monkey brain when it comes to getting power. They want buffs, they want levels, they want new gear, you know. And that's fine. I love that shit. That's my jam, really it is. But I've been thinking a lot about, especially with Fever Brain, and just literally, I could not sleep because my fever brain was just keeping me thinking. Technically true, but that's not, like, that's not something that should be reliably used in any situation, because you just might not be in a location, and it's just, it doesn't count across the board. Again, y'all can find whatever small things count. It doesn't make the game systems have the systems around it. I'm sorry. Social combat does not actually exist in these games. You have no reason to understand people in the game. You have no reason to, you know, like, actually learn about the world. Like, okay, so, Alex, you've been a player a lot. Probably predominantly.
Yep.
How often do you say in games do you try to delve into, like, the game's lore and really, like, get information?
If the game lore is cool, then more often than not. If I don't particularly care, then not much.
Well,
I've done that for Anima. I've not done that for Pathfinder as much.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, from your experiences, how often have you done that?
Not as often.
Mm-hmm. And to be fair, that's because Faerun has really garbage lore, in my opinion, honestly.
Yeah, it's just fine.
In my opinion, it's just... The problem with it is that it's been touched by too many hands. There's just not a lot of consistency. And it has a lot of the too many heroes in New York situation. Pathfinder's a little better. But because it's so similar to, like, to Faerun, I think a lot of players, like, write it off. Pathfinder, genuinely, Galarian has lots of really cool lore.
It is a lot better.
It definitely feels a lot better. But I have to agree, it's not very grabbing. It's not very evoking. Anima was definitely one, and we both have said as much, that we looked into the lore, and I absolutely love the lore, because, you know, I think it did really well at capturing your attention.
Because it's really fucking bonkers and weird, and it's so clear that they just like, let's put this in, and this thing, and this thing, and the whole time it's like, hell yeah. You put that thing in there.
Yeah, and honestly, it just wasn't, like, a ton of cringe. Some cringe. But, like...
A lot of the pre-made NPCs are more cringe than, like, the actual lore.
Not even, like, a ton of them. There's only really, like, a small
just
handful.
Some super weeby ones.
Yeah, that's true. I'll agree with that statement. But yeah, so none of these game systems provide really any incentive or gain for players to dive in the world. And you know, it's funny. Recently, I've been watching Trash Taste a bit. And if you don't know Trash Taste, it's a podcast of 3 guys who love anime and all live in Japan, and they're friends. And they mostly talk about their trash taste in anime and argue, and it's funny. I love listening to their content. They're great. And they were recently talking about, like, I think it was like guilty pleasure anime, like from genres that you know are kind of garbage, but you like your anime regardless. And Connor brings up Irregular at Magic High School or something like that, which is your standard. There's this guy who goes to a Magic High School, but he's really terrible, so he's like at the bottom of the ranks, but he's actually OP, right? It's that kind of story.
Pretty typical.
But, and apparently it's a huge thing in Japan too. Apparently it's like everywhere in Japan. But what's really interesting about it to me was that the magic system in the world is based on, like, calculations and math, and there's reasons why some spells work and other spells don't. And so they've been talking about it a lot, and a lot of the key points have been the protagonist figuring out new ways to use magic and doing magic in ways that other people have not been able to do. And it got me thinking, like, I would like to make a game excuse me. Thanks, Throwkill. I would really like to see a game, or make a game, that draws players into actually trying to figure out how it works. Like, it doesn't have to it doesn't have to be a mechanic based on, like, figuring it out and then doing it in game. I think that's kind of bad. And not all players are good problem solvers. But if you have a game that has a very established, like, rule set that players can dive in because they're just interested in it, I think that could make all kinds of things. I mean, I think it'd be interesting to have a game system where like the magic system has so many good fundamental rules that the player playing the character knows like how the magic spell worked. Like it's not just magic, they know the science behind it. I think that's kind of cool. And
Yeah, that'd be a cool idea.
Like you said, it doesn't have to be anything mechanical, but I think that's a reward in itself for players to like validate their characters, to be able to get more into character because you explore stuff in it. Some games do, and this is the thing, right? I'm not saying all tabletops haven't touched these concepts. Far from it. A lot of tabletops do touch them, but it's always piecemeal, you know. Vampire the Masquerade is really good at incentivizing players to politically interact in the game system and to watch their personal connections and to talk to certain NPCs. That's because the Kindred have a hierarchy, and you have to play by certain rules in that hierarchy. You can't just go around and do whatever. Like, playing a murder hobo is really hard in Vampire because a more powerful vampire will just come by and put you out of the Kindred's misery, you know. At least in lore. Your game obviously doesn't have to do that, but by lore standards, that's what would happen. And yeah, boons are another thing, and there's boons specifically around social situations. Vampire the Masquerade legitimately has very interesting social systems put into it. Its combat, kind of mid. You know, like vampires are faster, can do some supernatural things, but like in combat it really just boils down to I swing at this guy, I hit them for so much damage, or I use weird blood magic on this person and mess them up. Like, I would say that Vampire's combat system doesn't even compare to like D&D 5e's combat.
Damn. I mean, it seems like there's cool shit you can do, but it's like more of like the set pieces can be cooler, not the rules themselves.
Yeah. And to be fair, I feel that's a valid reason why I'd pick one game over another. It could be very valid to say, I prefer Vampire's combat because we can do things just on a whim, so I don't feel restricted by my powers. Well, not always. You have your blood issues. But we can also fight, like, on trains. We can fight on planes. We can fight, you know, like, on the side of a building. And even though the combat's more basic beyond that, it's still more fun because it's more, you know, imaginative. And some people are like, yeah, but I like D&D because I like mechanically having my character be able to fight and fight well, you know, or have cool abilities and stuff like that. And again, they're games of imagination. You can have moving set pieces. You can have all kinds of really fun styles of combat. But I find it funny that the top two games of tabletop right now are kind of just half-baked, you know? There's just not any good reason to really invest in a game world or in a game, like, or in NPCs, unless that's your, you know, prerogative as a player. There's just no mechanical benefits for it. And not only that, but you also have even less reason to get along with your teammates, mechanically speaking. Of course, there's always teamwork, and, you know, obviously, the sum of the parts are less than the whole, or whatever the saying is. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts situation. But that's like telling your players, hey, be strategic in combat. Like, you just, some players can, some players can't. You know, you can't tell your players to get along and expect them to do so.
Yeah, because a lot of times it really is like, hey, remember, player, your character's not cohesive to a team. You are in a team, though. Gotta actually cooperate. Though,
Right.
I guess primarily it's interesting too, because a lot of this is from us talking from the games we play, which, like, prospectively is possibly not the way I'd say, like, majority or even, like, the majority of players, you know, enjoy their tabletop. Because I feel like there's a lot of people, like, out there who, hearing this argument, go, yeah, but I don't want to fucking do that. I care about the combat. I like my build. I like dungeon delving, like all that. Going from a pure, like, role player perspective, it's like this makes sense to, like, us. But even then, like, already, it also kind of feels like, from just everything I've seen, the people who would already be investing in, like, art role playing with NPCs, learning about the lore, that's already their prerogative. So, like, they wouldn't even need a reward because learning about it is the reward. That's the vibe I see, like, primarily. Except played in games where, like, everyone else is, like, one, like, you know, combat monkey. Then there's people who care about the world and the lore. They're like, why are you doing this? Like, it's cool. I'm like, all right, go wild, I guess. It does seem like, at least, I don't know, I feel like maybe the majority is, they care more about the cool combats and the dungeon delving and the loot, like, from monsters and stuff than they would, like, learning about the political system of this country and, like, why it works the way it does.
Yeah, and Throwkill, we're technically talking, the subject is D&D and Pathfinder. VTM just came up as an example of social. Again, in Vampire, you want to keep your ducks in a row, because otherwise your whole group can just be wiped out. Your coterie can be wiped out if one player steps out of line too far.
Oh, so, yeah. Fucking end you. There's some vampires out there who'd be more than willing.
But, yeah, so I agree. And that's the thing, right? Different games have different things. I've seen DMs do really good stuff with players who dive into the lore. Critical Role with Matt, you know, Caleb wanted to look into dudamancy, you know, time magic. And his drive to do so evolved dudamancy into essentially a new subclass.
Yeah.
You know?
Or, I guess the other one I always think of with Brennan Lee Mulligan of, you talk to his NPCs, a throwaway, like, monster or thing will turn into a really, really fun, impactful, like, party ally. My favorite is, I think it's the eagle that they got in their Escape from the Bloodkeep. Yeah, Jeremy?
No, Jeremy was the giant, it was the horror monster or whatever.
Oh, Jeremy, yeah.
Yeah, Jeremy.
The giant John the Eagle. That's what it was.
John the Eagle. Yeah.
Yeah, John. Where, like, he's like, he was literally like he was an enemy in a combat that one player was like, we're in this situation. Let's talk numbers. I guess let's negotiate. And they're like, all right, let's break down the brass tacks. And, like, immediately that, like, role play chain made this monster a character. And also, funnily enough, like, just how that whole thing went. Have you seen the entirety of Escape from Bloodkeep?
I haven't seen the whole thing. I don't know if I will.
That's fair. Well, one thing as it with the end session was meant to be a PvP session.
Yeah, I did see a clip on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone was like, "Why did you think that?" He's like, "Why wouldn't I think a bunch of evil characters would fight each other? No, instead you're all friends and, like, get along." See, like, because I enjoy roleplay and stuff for roleplay's sake. Like, I've always been of the camp, like, I guess of I'm the person who I do a thing and I do the thing my way, and then when a game, I get pleasantly surprised when a game, like, does a thing I was doing mechanically. It happens with Pathfinder. I'm like, oh, that's a thing I already do. Cool. But like,
Yeah.
I don't know. For role playing itself, like I don't think I've ever needed a in game reward for the things I do, and I feel like that would be most of the people who play the game we do, the way we play it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, it's a game about imagination. Anima has
Yeah,
literally no skills or anything. Like, you can put points into social skills, but the game doesn't even tell you how it works.
that is true.
Like, it
As-
doesn't tell you, like, any systems for dealing with it or whatever. You just gotta be like, that's a good enough number, I suppose. Yes, this happens. But simultaneously, what happened in Anima was my fiance asked me a lot of questions about her race, and I just built her a whole city, and then the players had a whole chapter based on vampire politics, which was a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
Super fun.
And the players got to learn a lot about the Vitella and the lore I have established for them, and City Rosencrantz and all the important players in that area. And we got to know a lot about the area and all the people in it. But the thing is like I said, you can't say just get good when it comes to whether a system should be in a game or not. You know what I mean? It's just like, well, you just gotta get better, then you can add that roleplay stuff in. It's just like, yeah, but that shouldn't be the case. And not only that, but I'm a big advocate for more rules make the game easier to play. Like, yeah, it's a bitch to learn. Pathfinder was a bitch to learn, but Pathfinder is significantly easier to run than D&D 5e after you get good at it.
Yeah.
Like D&D's learning curve is super steep. It's like really low at first, and then once you get like very experienced, it shoots up into a near vertical climb on how difficult the game gets to run.
Yeah, because you just, as a DM, have to fix every problem.
You literally have to remake the game at a certain point.
Yeah.
Pathfinder has a pretty big learning curve, but once you get all the rules down and you understand the system, then it just levels out, and then you can do whatever you want with it.
That's true.
And that's the biggest complaint between the two systems, is that D&D is super frustrating to run. Every good DM of D&D I have ever met has always complained about the lack of rules D&D has in its systems. Every DM, no exceptions. Now, granted, most of those DMs also say, yeah, but I still prefer D&D over Pathfinder, which is fine.
Yeah.
But it's still one of those things of like, I advocate adding rules makes a game easier to play. If you add a good social combat system, not only will you make it easier for the DM to run, but your players get to game that system as well. Because I'll tell you, there's nothing players love more than gaming the system. Because every time someone comes up to me and tells me about their characters, it's always how they could do one thing really stupidly good.
That is true. It's usually the vibe.
Like 9 times out of 10. The other one is someone who just has a really, really good character story. Yeah, and we're not here to say that Pathfinder is better than D&D. That's not the argument. Obviously, both are good. Obviously, D&D is a lot better for getting new players in, which has more staying power, in my opinion. You have less bounce off than Pathfinder does. And that's all that matters, is how long your players play the game, right?
True.
So, like both systems have their ups and downs. But we can critique the individual parts. And thank you, Phoenix Williamson. I did not see your message until just now. See, I get such good support from the community.
You do.
I'm very happy. I'm glad a lot of people like the content. It's made these last couple weeks really rough because I really want to grow the channel. I want to make this channel, something people can be proud to be a part of. And making negative progress sucks.
Yeah, it always does.
But whatever, I'm gonna watch out for my health, But yeah, so, and I'm sure both Alex and I have a long list of games that have non-combat RPG systems that were really fun in games we've played. One of my ideas for a game that I'm making is a social combat system that allows you to learn traits, like personality traits of individuals, so you can utilize that in your roleplay, and a stress system that, as long as they don't leave, you can stress someone out to make them flub up their social, like roles and everything like that. A lot of systems, and not only that, but systems of getting to know not just NPCs, but your fellow party members. Because the game I have in mind has like a role system, but not in your standard sense. Like each person does a job on like these surveys out into the wilderness. If you get really friendly with someone who's like the team medic and you up your connection with them, you get less stress from injuries because they'll patch you up. And all the roles kind of provide jobs, but there's also disadvantages players can take in the game where if a player knows them too well, that gives their character consistent stress because someone knows their secret or whatever, or someone's too close to them. It provides a lot of opportunity for players to have this push and pull where bonuses can be gained, but you also have a reason not to just like automatically become friends with everyone you meet. And I feel like that system is so much more interesting than nothing, actually.
Yeah, instead of just make persuasion check, make deception check. Like actual back and forth.
Yeah. And then not only that, but you can get in with NPCs that can provide a variety of bonuses. Maybe you become friends with an NPC and you unlock a benefit that you weren't realizing, where you meet this badass fighter dude or whatever, and you're like, yeah, maybe if I get in good with this guy, he'll teach me techniques or whatever. And you get up enough, and then he's just like, he really likes you and wants to make sure you're safe. He joins your party. I think that would be really fun.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with liking BattleTech and MechWarrior RPG. I mean, heck, there's still people nowadays who still play AD&D, and that game's like 20, 30 years old.
Oh shit, is it actually that old? Damn.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Let's see, AD&D. I guess I gotta type in advance. $1977 is when it came out.
Damn.
Which makes that, yeah, that's easy. 50 years ago, 50 and some change.
That's nuts.
I'm bad at math, and I just got over a fever, so let me redo the math here. 2022 minus 1977. 45 years ago. There you go. Yeah, it was a long time. So, don't feel bad about playing a game that I think is half that age. So, and to be fair, I am talking from someone who wants a experience that is a true blend between role-playing and narrative and gaming. Obviously, there are people out there who just don't give a fuck, and they just want to go into dungeons and kill monsters. And that's completely okay. You can definitely prefer your own game systems.
Matters is that you play the game that you want to play. I've played with people who like actively do not like role playing in game. Like, it was a very like interesting experience because it's like, oh, you just don't like this thing I really love about tabletop, and like I found it more fascinating than like anything else, because that's just me in general. Though I always find it really interesting when someone hates a thing I really enjoy, and I'm always like curious why. And there are some people who really all they want to do is just fight, and you know what? Fair enough. Those people are usually like. There's the two extremes of it. Luckily, I played with people who were like really cool at describing how they were fighting. And I was like, awesome, you're getting a lot of like enjoyment out of this element of the game, so you're describing your actions really well. And it's fun. And then there's others who's like, all right, I roll, I hit. All right, I roll, I hit. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, and you definitely need blends of all kinds in roleplay and tabletop in general. Because, I'm someone who likes to have hype combat, right? Yeah. I'm someone who I wanna go into an epic combat situation, and I want everyone to be on their A game and making the combat sick as heck. Like, that gives me enjoyment because I love in combat narrating and making the characters interesting and sound cool, because I love combat. I really do. I love gritty systems. I really do. But I also really like narrative. And that's why we have this conversation today about why D&D and Pathfinder are half-baked. Because whether you agree or not, in the books, they are described as narrative strategy games, or some variation of those words. It's a role-playing tabletop game, and it is expected that your characters have social interactions in these game systems. Whether you agree or not, you have stats dedicated purely to social systems.
I mean, yeah, whole charisma, like skills and all that, but then at the end of the day, they're all kind of just like roll off against the check. Nothing else behind it.
Yeah, exactly, and it feels half-baked, Again, Pathfinder is a little less because they actually have skills dedicated to social stuff. Not a lot, but they have a good handful. Feats like Lie to Me that use your deception DC rather than your perception DC to see if someone's lying to you, which I think is cool. I like that kind of stuff, and I think that stuff needs to just be better. And yeah, and to be fair, definitely, it sounds like you're someone who already writes up your character, and so that all seems redundant. Those same features help some people make their characters, though. So, and that's what they're designed for. And that's exactly why I think social systems just need to be put into tabletop more. It needs to be something that players have a reason to make good social characters. Like, I know the face is a generally perceived like role in the game, but that's just so they can. That's just someone with a high diplomacy or deception, often. And like, it doesn't net them bonuses. You know, it doesn't save the part. Well, it can, but it doesn't necessarily save their lives. And yeah, I agree, definitely. Pathfinder did it perfectly. You can have your social feats and your combat feats all in one. It's great. So, Alex, how would you? What kind of like exploration or social system would you like to see in a tabletop game? Or what would you like to be rewarded for the most?
Interesting. It's really interesting because, like, to think about, because like it's particularly the kind of thing of like, it's never been something that's crossed my mind, like wanting rewards for it. But I guess like it's the kind of stuff of I always want to be rewarded for describing stuff in combats or like customizing my character's kit and like all that. Because like I love it when systems have like weapon customization systems because I already do that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, I get more stuff for this. Like just like real making my character more real in this moment by customizing their stuff. Or I mean, granted, if also every system had like more social combat stuff like VTM does, that'd be pretty hype. I'd love like more systems behind it. More systems, the better. But like, it's tough because like I've never been with the situation of like I love this role playing bit, but I wish I was given rewards for doing so. It's never crossed my mind because it's always just a fun thing to do.
And like any combat, it's not like you just do a thing and get a reward instantly for it.
Yeah.
But okay, so like you bring up a good point though, which is you make a really good, fascinating character. You describe your character. You have either aesthetic or custom bits that make your character a little bit more unique. And it doesn't get like brought up at all.
Yeah.
Or you don't feel there doesn't feel like there's a reward for going the extra mile to kit your character out. And
yeah, sometimes that feels like it's the case.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, again, different tables do different things, and you can have a group or a DM that really helps with that. But that's the thing, and that's a thing of like, what if there was a notoriety system? What if the DM had to come up with like monikers for your characters, or had to like list some specific noticeable features on your characters that enemies have to refer to? What if that's a system that the DM has to use? That would make your players feel better, honestly. I think it makes your players feel more in the world, because the NPCs are like, oh, it's Star
Spangled Banner.
Yeah, that one. My nose is stuffed up. And they throw like stars at people, whatever. It's like, that's a very bad example and it does not sound cool in the slightest. Forgive me, I'm still sick. But that's something that is immersive. The NPCs recognize your characters. What if you start building actual personal relationships between yourself and NPCs in the world? Making actual connections. Like, it's potentially a bad road. But what if you want to play again because you miss an NPC that badly? I think that's cool. Fun. I also think that that's an issue potentially.
What if just really liking this NPC?
Well, yeah, because then you might create players who have stronger than should attachments to fake people. And DMs getting bothered, like, can we play again? Can we play again, please? I miss my wife.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, but that actually already happens.
Yeah.
I remember reading this one piece of there was this couple and they started playing D&D together and they loved it and they really liked it. And then that enjoyment of tabletop kind of transitioned to the bedroom and they would roleplay their characters in the bedroom.
Hmm.
And then they had to stop because the wife was like, I'm sorry, I don't think I can keep playing anymore. Every time we do anything together, I'm only thinking about your character.
Oof.
Yeah, isn't that rough?
It's fucking rough. Damn.
And yeah, I mean, the Phoenix, of course. I'm not saying social combat or social systems where, like, the players need to actually be good at talking or anything like that. It's more of, okay, you learn a trait about this person. They are flirty. Okay, so we'll get an attractive member to flirt with them. You know, you get a bonus to do so. Or you get an NPC that is greedy. So you know, okay, maybe I can offer them like a good deal with a lot of money. And that'll get bonuses to getting around them, you know.
I guess that's always also the interesting issue, and maybe even that is a reason that it's not implemented very much. Is like it feels like you've run across that problem of you design this really cool system for social combat, and then it's also like it's going to be DM dependent. Like don't get me wrong, but then it's like this whole system that for anyone who is like really socially anxious in those moments, or even just really bad with words, they're kind of just not able to like join in on this system or even like enjoy this part of the game or even use it to its fullest extent because they're just were not like they just happen to not be like charismatic in real life. Like
Yeah, that's
obviously that's not gonna be like a system, but I feel like unless you're very careful with like writing the rules, that could be a possible thing that could happen. Of like, oh, you didn't convince me in real life. How dare you?
yeah, no, that's not what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. I'm talking about, okay, this character is flirty. Okay, my character goes up and tries flirting with him. Make a roll. That's it.
Okay.
That's my interpretation because I always like to leave the system bare bones enough that it works mechanically, but can be delved into on the player side if they want to get deeper into that.
Yeah.
Because I also think that should be the case. And I tell my players too, if you're having a hard time trying to convince an NPC, tell me what you're trying to get across and just go ahead and make a roll for it.
Yeah.
Because your characters are going to have stats that are beyond your comprehension in some form or fashion. In Pathfinder, it's literally impossible to have a character that physically represents yourself because your characters, like, even starting out, have near Olympic level stats in something.
Yeah.
Typically.
I think even in like 5e, someone did. There's a this guy I saw on TikTok who is he plays like a fighter, and so he was training to be able to lift as high as much as his character in D&D can. Granted, he's already a buff like bodybuilder type, but he's like, my
Right.
character's a strength 20. This is their carrying weight. I'm gonna train so I can actually do the things my character can do. And yeah, it's fucking absurd, like how much how much it actually means, like having a 20, or even like those people who are like, there's another TikTok account that did a really fun video where they showcase like what it actually looks like to make like say 2 archer shots, like bow shots, in 7 seconds while moving 30 feet.
Yeah.
Like how showing like this is a little goofy and like unrealistic.
Yeah. That honestly, that's kind of why I like Pathfinder a bit, because they have the multi-attack penalty that kind of accounts for that. But even then, there's things like hunted shot that allow you to fire twice with a single action.
Yeah.
And they can do flurry and make it better, but you know, whatever. It's a you have to suspend belief at any opportunity you can, because your characters are, trust me, there's tons of wizards out there who are stupid.
Yeah.
Players who play wizards who are very dumb.
It's a common thing. My character would in this moment, like, my character is so much smarter than me in real life. They'd probably know this.
Yeah, but see, I've seen the opposite where I'm playing a wizard, and their wizard is the dumbest fuck on the planet, like, plays and doesn't do a smart thing in their life. Their intelligence just applies to their ability to cast spells.
I feel that.
I'm sure you do. I don't know. This is just one of the many fever-addled brain thoughts I had about tabletop. Is I think tabletop has so much room to grow. Imagine a game that just has everything, and that just becomes like the standard, you know? Because you can still have a game that has everything, and then just do systems differently or do different aesthetics, you know? Because
yeah,
I would argue Pathfinder 2E has almost everything. Not fleshed out 100%, but they have a lot of things. If you want your characters to mine materials and make weapons from scratch, they have rules for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And how long it takes and everything. You can go and make a legitimate, you know, business in Pathfinder if you really wanted to. They have social feats that work in social situations that give you bonuses, penalties, or whatever, and even non-bonus related stuff in social combat, which I think is important as well. Combat's really good. I think the only thing they don't really have is an established like political system to deal with, but I think that goes over most players' heads anyway.
Yeah.
They even have settlement ratings, which tell you what kind of items you can find in that settlement and what kind of resources are available and what level you can find them at.
Which is a system that makes a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of sense, and it just should be in most game systems, just because not having it only hurts you.
Yeah.
Well, in Phoenix, I think this comes to a point I think is important for tabletop. Tabletop needs to provide for its players something that is fantastical in some form or fashion. Because Call of Cthulhu, where you're playing normal people, you're playing normal people in the face of supernatural events. And that's the fun and aesthetic of it, you know. That's why there's really no tabletops where everyone is playing just people in realistic situations, you know, even if it's like medieval, right? Because those are just not interesting or fun. Heck, for the game system I'm developing, I want martial characters to feel like martial characters, but they're gonna have superpowers that make them superhuman, you know. They're not gonna be using spells or anything, but they're still gonna be able to, like, cut a skyscraper in half.
Yeah. The fun shit.
The fun shit, yeah. I also want more guns. I feel like gunplay is so poorly done in tabletop in general.
True.
It's like XCOM guns, really, if you want to give it like the biggest BFD. Because like in Starfinder, we found you shoot your gun once, or you shoot your gun once, and you can shoot it twice at a pretty decent penalty. And it's like that just doesn't feel how guns should play. It's like XCOM, where your people come up, they shoot like 3 bullets, and then they duck behind cover. And it's just like, that's just not how people use guns.
No.
So I want to make and I think I've done with the playtest we've done so far. My gun system has been feeling pretty good. I've just been trying to add like feats and such that make combat feel more without breaking the system, which can be hard actually.
Yeah, because they'll do like so much fucking damage or just unbalance everything.
Yeah, it's just like, oh well, you know, if they have this feat, anyone who does not have a proper defensive feat will just get annihilated. Can't have stuff like that. So
yeah,
that's the thing. But I don't know. If there's anything anyone in the chat would like tabletop to include that most tabletops don't, or just D&D and Pathfinder, since that is the topic of the day. You know, let us know. Let us know some things you'd like to get rewarded for that are not necessarily combat related. And we're not saying take out combat in order to put this in. We're not saying you have to hate combat or something. I'm not even saying I hate combat. No. A game is missing something. A game is missing something. It doesn't matter how much everything else is good, you know. Like, honestly, you ask me, I would like to see RPG systems in like Halo, right? I love RPG systems. I love leveling up. Does Halo need it? No.
Oh, not in the slightest.
But I would have fun with it. Even if it's something is like make your character run a little faster, or, you know, if you jump, you slow-mo like a couple % of speed. Honestly, I just like leveling shit up. That's honestly my big thing.
This is a really interesting point too, because I feel like kind of the opposite now. I used to think that way. Now I feel like I'm the opposite. I've been playing too many games with RPG mechanics. I'm like, I don't fucking want this. Like, please. Like, I guess it's because I've been playing through all the Assassin's Creed games again, where it's like, man, they did not need to become RPGs. Like, they had their formula was overdone, but like, I kind of liked what they were doing. And then they were like, here's all your skill abilities and all this, and gear slots, and it's like, I don't want this.
I don't know, that just sounds like bad implementation to me.
It's more that's honestly, I would say they're implemented well, but it doesn't feel as fun in like the world or like the setting of Assassin's Creed, when like the fun of it is like you have a button that does a one-hit kill, but you have to like get everything right and coordinate this moment where you can do it. That's what's fun, not like, this gives me a plus 10% sword damage and then this gives me a 25% increase. Like, yeah, I don't care. I want to like do fun stealth, like meld into a crowd, stab a guy, then like walk away, with everyone none the wiser. To that extent,
I mean, I think that's just bad implementation for the game it was designed for. Because it's an assassin game. It's like, you shouldn't be worried about damage numbers as an assassin. You should be worried about just murdering someone.
Yeah.
You know. So, like, there's other ways you can add RPG elements to it, though. But
though, honestly, it's kind of like every game should let you go quicker.
It's true. Movement speed is king. It's like Payday. Payday has a lot of like really good first-person shooter elements, but like, I like how unobtrusive some of the RPG elements are in Payday. Like, oh, I have more zip ties for tying people up.
Yeah, just a little bonus.
A little bonus. Now, I like playing the Stockholm Syndrome kind of character and getting a bunch of allies.
The big controller, like Joker builds, yeah.
But, you know, and that I feel has a bigger impact. But they have a lot of stuff. It's just like, oh, your character wears body armor so they can take a bit more hits, or other kind of stuff that I feel like are unobtrusive but show noticeable differences in how people play their characters and change your playstyle. I think that's good. Excuse me. Assassin's Creed, unless the RPG elements are dictating how you assassinate someone, really, they're just bad RPG mechanics.
Yeah, they're essentially RPGs with like set in the world and with the Assassin's Creed tag on it, which is like, like the one thing I'm really hurting and like about is like the games like Odyssey and like Valhalla and stuff are really not designed for stealth, though they have a stealth system. But they like don't want you to do stealth because they make like these areas, these camps where it's like, this is like super unviable. Like why, or like I can't stealth this because there's no like angles I can properly get at. And then meanwhile, like as much shit as it got, Unity is like, it's got some really fun missions where you like go, like one where you have to infiltrate the Notre Dame and like kill a guy in the middle of like a sermon and then like get out of there. And there's like a bunch of cool ways you can do it. Yeah, that's fun. But like, yeah, it's like I wanna have my hidden blade and stuff. I don't give a shit about the spear and kicking people good and like all that.
Right, yeah, exactly. And yeah, definitely just brings up a good point as well. Yeah. Just your a leveling system should never take away skills that your character should just innately have.
True.
You know, you shouldn't have to put skill points to run in a game. That's just dumb. I've seen some games that do that too. Like unlock sprint. It's just like my character didn't know how to sprint before now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. God. You know what? That's the one complaint I'll give to Unity too. It does that as well, where it's like you can now kill a guy by jump from like an aerial assassination. It's like, why didn't I know this from the start? It's like the like staple.
Right.
Yeah. From what you're describing, that sounds like the Robin Hood game, but I don't think anyone gave a shit. And I also don't think that game's any good.
Well, you know, actually, now that I think about it, Assassin's Creed did have some RPG elements, even in like 2. It was the gear you got. Gadgets you got.
You just had a gear system that had like a number that went up for each like stat.
But you know, I mean, like, again, I like leveling stuff up. That satisfies my monkey brain enough. Does it need to be in most games? No, I agree. And if they don't have it, I'm not going to be sad.
I'm realizing right now I play a lot of games that don't really have RPG mechanics.
I mean, most games don't.
Yeah, no, interesting. I found that very interesting. Because I have a few games and they're like, yeah, it's cool. But then like other games where I'm like one games I adore, the Uncharted series. Nah, yeah, you're just linear levels going through, doing cool stuff. I just like to be doing cool things in the game. Mm-hmm. That's, I guess, all I care about. As long as my character is cool and I feel like they're like, I can do these cool badass things in the game, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. I enjoy diversity of playstyle. I like approaching games and being able to play in a variety of ways. Mostly because I'm a nerd. I like to sit down and figure a game out and figure out how to get good at playing different styles, just because I enjoy the act of exploring and finding it out, you know? And that's something I want in tabletop, right? In tabletop, I want the ability to figure things out and get, you know, like rewarded for it in some form or fashion. And you kind of already can. Build design in theory crafting builds already pretty much does that, which is probably why I like tabletop so much. But I would like to actually look into a game's world and lore and find something out and then get more than just a nod of like, hey, if you know this, you know this. Good job.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be pat on the back for finding out lore. I want, like, give me bonuses, give me loot, give me something, you know.
Oh, and yeah, no, you know what? Also, because I was talking about this last night with Slug, like talking about like Sekiro. You know, because you played through all Sekiro, right? Or at least a good
Yeah,
chunk of it.
I didn't finish the final boss because my PlayStation got reset for some reason.
Yeah, I remember that. I'm curious if you'll agree with this. You know, who is like your favorite boss from Sekiro? Because I think it's that rematch with the samurai guy that cuts off your arm at the beginning of the game.
No,
I would say he's my favorite.
My favorite's the fight with the owl.
The owl?
Yeah, your ninja dad.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's fun. Yeah, fair.
His fight's really good because he is such a character in the fight. He gives up only to betray you, like, several times. Like, oh, stop, smoke bomb. You know, he does that, like, several times. And he's a good fighter, too, you know, like, he does anything he can to get an advantage. He does
That's
anything
really
he can to kill you, and it makes perfect sense for his character.
Yeah. See, and I think my favorite boss is that samurai guy, because like one thing I love it when games do is like have a thing in there of like you will excel once you learn the game's mechanics. Because like that boss, like the samurai boss I'm talking about, his entire kit, like every attack string is a different way of dealing with it. Like that you've accumulated over the game, and now it's like, all right, now are you for real? Are you gonna like hopefully you've learned how to play this game, or you're gonna be stuck here? That's my shit. I love that. I love having those bosses where you're like, because I understand this game, hell yeah.
Yeah, I definitely do love games that teach you their mechanics in organic ways. And then when you get to a point where you're like, it's a really hard fight, but the fight was less hard because you learned the mechanics. That's really cool. That's honestly what I like in tabletop more. I feel that's harder to do in tabletop.
I think so.
Because it's kind of a non-skill for tabletop in a lot of ways. Strategy, sure, but you can't have a game that requires law strategy from your players. That's just not going to be available to most people. Most people don't want to think when they play tabletop.
You know, I'll also say that for many people who play war games.
It's true.
Because like there are ways to play, like say Warhammer without thinking, and it's pretty fun. I will say. Listen, I was a custodies man. That's my army, and you don't really need to be that tactical. You just kind of move forward. It's real fun to be the unstoppable wall. And then there's people who are like, I do this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing. Spend this much, like all that. And it's like, cool. I move 6 inches and charge you.
I ride my bike into your back line and kill your psyker.
Yeah, like, wow, that was a really cool setup. I hit on 2s and wound on 2s. Sorry.
Yeah, right. Though, to be fair, that's a lot of Games Workshop wonky balancing. But
yeah.
I think the point still stands, though. Yeah, some players just kind of want to unga bunga it, and I feel like that's viable, you know? I feel like your tabletop players should not be actors and should not be chess masters. I like the idea of making normal people feel great through tabletop. I made a tweet about this a few days ago. That I want to tell stories, but I want to tell stories of like average people doing great things. And their characters are far from average people. I mean, in both 5e and in Pathfinder, your characters way outpower your average everyday citizen pretty quickly.
True.
But the people who play them are normal people. And I like to give normal people the ability to have very deep evoking narratives. you know, if you walk away feeling just accomplished and that you told a really good story, I feel like that's something that should be available to everyone, and I feel that everyone should be capable of that. You
Yeah.
know? And you don't need to be super smart, and you don't need to be super charismatic. You just need to want it, you know. You just got to invest, you know, and not even a bunch. You just need a small amount of investment, I feel. Because there's tons of times I've seen players who are just not really super great players, but they walk away like they just accomplished the greatest thing in their life because they just told a really cool story, you know? And yeah, there are going to be better campaigns out there with people who are actors or who are very smart, sure. But I feel like anyone can get that level of accomplishment. I mean, heck, a lot of Arcadum before the fall, you know, a lot of his content. Like, he just had a bunch of goofballs kill death at the end of one of his campaigns.
That's hype.
And literally right before the final fight, they're like standing on this skyscraper on this like super civilized planet or whatever that is just empty. There's no one there. No one's alive. And they pissed off the side of the skyscraper. And they had like a bro moment because all of them just got next to each other and just pissed off the side of a skyscraper.
The joy of pissing off of something that's really high up is
I
that's literally
literally
a very relatable
can't
feeling.
relate. I cannot relate.
Have you not done that?
I don't think I have.
Oh my god, no, it's awesome. Listen,
I don't know.
listen, you haven't lived until you've pissed off a side of like a cliff or a mountain. I was in Boy Scouts for a very long time, so
Best moment in Final Fantasy IX.
it's like honestly, there's something about it.
I will say, pissing in snow is a fun experience, but I don't know. Maybe I'll have to try it. I won't naysay until I try it, but I have no desire to do so.
Oh yeah, it's never something you're like, oh, I really want to do this, but once you do it, you're like, oh shit. Oh shit, I'm powerful.
Man, I'm missing out on one of the fundamental experiences.
Yeah, I guess. I thought like most guys have done that.
I don't know. I've been around a lot of cliffs, honestly.
Yeah. I know I've done it on. There's a thing for Boy Scouts called the I don't know if it's like everywhere, the 50 miler, and it's just you go on a 50-mile like week-long hike camping trip, and I was up in the Cascades, and we actually a whole week and like partway through we got all the way up to the top of this like mountain, and like you gotta shit and piss in the woods. So you just piss off the side of a mountain, and you're like, this is the coolest shit ever.
The only time I've been really around cliffs is cliff diving.
I've never been cliff diving.
Yeah, that's the only time I've really been up around cliffs. Most of the time when we hike in like deep woodland areas.
Yeah.
And then my family has a cabin, so we go to the cabin, which is right on the water. And then my grandfather owned a yacht, so we spent a lot of time on the water. So yeah, we just never went around a lot of like high places.
That's fair, I guess. See, like, yeah, like I don't know if Dead Phoenix, like I don't know if it's just a thing that was just a thing in my area. Granted, we had like hiking like places around us like all the time, and yeah, I only remember the good bits. It's just I was Mormon, so if you're Mormon, you have to be in Boy Scouts, which is kind of the rule.
Weird.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
That's just the thing. If you're a guy in the church, you kind of just have to be a Boy Scout. Then once I left the church, I left the Scouts. Though granted, I also had no intention of being an Eagle Scout. I didn't care. I just got to play with knives. Like, that was really all I gave a shit about.
Yeah, I didn't do anything like that. I went to Marine Science Camp. That's what I did.
Ah, science camp.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun, actually. We spent a week on a sailboat. We learned how to sail a sailboat, and we just went around the San Juan Islands, and we did some experiments. And I had a very successful experiment of could we catch a crab with a turkey leg, and we did. We just threw a turkey leg out, and like after so much time, we pulled it back, and there's a crab attached to it. We're like, success. Theory
Mission
proven is correct.
successful.
Exactly.
Crabs eat turkey.
Crabs eat turkey legs. Confirmed.
I imagine like a poster board like you'd see in like a science fair for like a kid.
Yeah, right.
Like, yes, crabs do eat turkey legs.
Yep.
Yeah, no, like, yeah, Eagle Scouts, like, I saw the people who were doing Eagle Scouts, they were talking about all the hard stuff they were doing, and I'm like, dude, I literally just got the shooting badge because I shot a gun not very well. That's pretty cool. I just was there for, like, the dangerous shit that you get to do. And then every other part, I was just like, meh, it sounds like work. I think it was really funny. I was talking about, like, all this stuff with my parents, like, recently, and my mom was like bringing up the fact, like I was talking about how I viewed all the Boy Scout stuff. She's like, yeah, I remember for ceremonies I had to put together your sash because you had all these merit badges and never put them on your sash. I was like, yeah, because I don't care.
Right.
I didn't care about the badge. I was just like doing the thing is interesting. And I hated all like the pageantry of standing around in these uniforms. It sucked. But also, I was a bad Mormon. I had no intention of doing anything extra for the Mormon Church. At all. I never paid my tithe. I never wanted to attend seminary. I never wanted to go on my mission. I didn't want to go to BYU. Like, all of that stuff. I was like, nah. Even from, like, a super young age. Like, where do you want to go on your mission, Alex? And I'm like, I'm not going. I was like 6 or 7.
I'm glad my family was Lat Christian, because
Yeah.
like I went to like Sunday school like 3 times, and like the most religious my family is we go to Easter service every year, and we would say grace every Thanksgiving. That's it. And I've been an atheist for, I don't know, a long time, probably since I was like 13, if not sooner. And it's just like, and the funny thing is, I'm the one who says grace. I inherited the job from my great-grandfather when he died, and I was the oldest and like only boy for a while, and then even after I wasn't, like, they were obviously still a child, so like it just became my job, and I go and I give good, graces every time, but it's just weird being an atheist. Yeah, like I look at it as like a tradition thing.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, it seems more like it is a tradition and like a family thing than it would be a religious thing at that point.
Because I also say like, oh God, or Jesus Christ or something all the time, because those are just nomenclature. They mean something very different than their original intent.
Yeah. Like, I always feel like I say it a lot because it almost feels like I'm making up for the years of being like, you can never say anything according to this, or otherwise you're actively sinning. But no, like, it's always interesting to hear that, because then with my religious upbringing, it's every single part of your life when you're a Mormon is about being Mormon. Mm-hmm. And like, it's just every day you have something, and then the one like breaking point. There's a few like actual reasons to leave the church, but like the one I was like really like, I'm not doing that, was seminary. So once you go to like, I think it's middle school to high school, you have to go to a thing before school for like an hour and a half. Now remember, middle school and high school started like 7-8 a.m. Right. A lot of them started at like 6 a.m. like for seminary. 6 to 5 a.m. was like your deal, and yeah, it's 6 a.m. Bible study. I was like, fuck it, no, I'm not doing that. That's ass. My brother did it for a bit, and it seemed like he hated every second of it, and he did. was like, yeah, super fair. Like, I'm not doing that. Because, like, god damn, I want to be able to do something later in the day.
I can't speak. I took 0 period classes when I went to college or high school.
Is that just super early in the morning?
I got up at 6 a.m. to go
Ugh.
and lift weights.
Ugh. Ugh. Hate that.
Honestly, it wasn't that bad. I actually like weight class.
I hate waking up early. I despise it. I enjoy being up late too much.
Oh, I stay up late too, but I just got up early and went and lifted weights. To be fair, I only went to high school for like my sophomore year, and then my last 2 years I was in running start, so it wasn't that big a deal for me.
I also did the running start thing, and I was really excited when I can set up my schedule. Be like, I have school at 12, like 12 to 1 p.m. That was always great.
I had a whole quarter where I didn't have any classes because I wasn't told that if you're like on the waiting list for a class, you need to actually go to the class to like get a chance to get into it. So I was just told I was on the waiting list, and I checked my email, and they're like, okay, I guess I just don't have any classes this quarter. So I just had like a whole quarter I did nothing. It was great.
Sounds great.
But yeah, that was a very weird point in my life, man. High school is such a weird point in I think everyone's life. You make a lot of changes. I remember I broke my glasses because I was just in a period of my life where I just kept breaking my glasses over and over again. And I was just like, fuck it, I'm not going to use glasses. And I didn't wear glasses for like a year. I remember putting glasses on for the first time after that year. I'm like, oh my god, this is what everyone sees?
Living the me life over there. Like, goddamn, like, that's what I've done. Like, I should wear glasses. I need to. The problem is, wearing glasses, I cannot be, like, close to a screen. And, like, I can't wear them and look at a screen at the same time. Unless it's, like, far away.
Weird.
And so I can't wear my glasses, like, because I'm really, what is it? Like, I just can't see things that are far away.
So you're nearsighted.
Yeah. But then, like, wearing my glasses and, like, looking at a screen, if it's, like, at my desk level, I just get a headache and, like, my eyes hurt. But then, like, if it's at a TV farther away, oh, it's fine. But, like, so I don't wear my glasses. And so my eyes can't get used to them. And so I just don't wear glasses, and I kind of just walk around life in, like, 480p.
Right. Same.
It just works. Like, I don't need to see everything in high def. Oh no, I'm left alone, aren't I? Uh-oh. How's it going, chat?
Sorry, I'm back.
Okay, good.
I
was panicking.
But yeah, I don't know. It's a period in my life where it's like, I wanted to work out, I wanted to change. I was like, fuck glasses. Who needs them? I was like trying to jog more, trying to get in with people more. And I don't know. It's excuse me. A lot of high school is about establishing like your identity. I think growing up it's a lot of it, but I think it comes out a lot more in like high school and stuff. When you start getting more freedoms, like you get a license and you start driving or whatever. And so you're just like, go ahead.
I think I only found that in college. Like, I think college was like the moment where I'm really like, all right, this is me. Like, now, because it's just like being separate from like my immediate family, like living on my own. It's very much like, I feel like this is the moment, like once I move to like to my town that I'm in. That now I'm like, all right, I'm pretty secure, which is who I am, what my position is, like all that stuff.
Well, yeah, but see, that's the thing, right? And I know you're younger, but it's like a lot of it is establishing your identity and like clinging to things that you feel are you. And then you get to the point like you're at where it's like, yeah, no, this is just who I am. I like the things I like and whatever. And you stop trying to establish, you stop trying to recreate yourself, and you just kind of like try to cement in like who you are. And to be fair, a lot of people never change, and that's kind of just the state they are for the rest of their lives. But a lot of people, as you get older, and this is kind of why, like, a lot of people who are, like, older are more bland, it almost feels like sometimes, is because you realize that no one is a specific, like, identity. You are who you are, sure, but if you're bad at cooking, like one of the big things is I was bad at cooking, and I was like, I'm just bad at cooking. I don't like cooking, and I burn water, so that's just who I am. I'm just bad at cooking, and I was okay with that. And I've learned getting older, it's like, well, no, but you can change that. It's easy. You don't have to be anything. You don't have to be your version of you is just who you are in the moment. There's no specific traits. You can like something at one point in your life and then not like it later, and that's completely okay.
Oh yeah.
And it's like all these kind of things. If people say they can't do anything, or they can't or they're just not meant for something like that, that's just super inflexible, and it's super, like, it's okay to know your limits, but it's also okay to know that literally, at least as people, we're capable of change in like any way if you at least put a little bit of effort into it. And that's, I think, it's like growing up. It's just like, yeah, no, my house is just messy. And then as you get older, you're just like, shit, it doesn't have to be fucking messy. You clean your place up. You know, you learn how to cook. You're just like, I really like playing games, and I just want to be a gamer. But honestly, I just kind of want to make a decent income.
Yeah, I found that at least like that's a big one for me too. Like I've started actually cooking more in college, and because it's more of like the thing of well, also like then living with roommates who were really disgusting and never cleaned up after themselves. Like now that I'm in a house, like after they've left, like where it's clean, I'm like, holy shit, I'm so much happier. But like I feel like at least at this point it was college that really cemented like I guess just my core personality, ways I view things, like all that. Because I also had like stopped doing that of like I'm just not gonna do this. I'm just bad at this. Because I'm like, yeah, it's a skill. You can get good at a skill. But like I'm in the point where now I can do a thing, and I always get hit with like the one thing my mom does all the time. She's very much the like, if all your friends jumped off a bridge with you, you're gonna regret that when you're old. And every time I'm like, I don't think I will. I don't think I'd regret that if I'm old. If I got a really dumb tattoo that was like just I thought it was funny, I think like 60-year-old me would look down and I go, heh, that's still funny. Like I feel like I'm pretty set, at least in that field. Because like I like the one thing I think is like the clearest one that I think of all time is like when it comes to painting. And I was like first getting into Warhammer stuff like 15. I was like, yeah, man, Warhammer's so cool. I'll never do the models though. Painting sounds horrible. I would hate it, and I'm really bad at painting. And now I think I have some models around me that I'm genuinely proud of and think they absolutely slap. Like I'm like, damn, I did a great job. I'm good at painting. Not like godlike as some people, but like I like the one I'm super proud of is like my Dark Apostle Chaos Marine model. I think it looks fucking dope. Proud of my Bellacore, big old demon man, and I'm gonna actually be repainting Abaddon soon because my old Abaddon's a little meh. But like, yeah, no, it's I feel like that you're hitting it pretty clear. At least there's a point in your life where you kind of just got to realize like the thing that's holding you back from learning a lot of new skills sometimes is just yourself.
Yeah, it's a life process called building and killing the ego, because a lot of it, like confidence and comfort, comes from having an ego of an ego. What a lot of people misidentify what ego means. Ego just means sense of self, like a sense of self, or a sense of like things are the way they should be. And having an ego is important for having confidence, but the same thing that builds you up can also break you down when it comes to your ego, because you can get hard locked into being like, oh, I'm that asshole friend. I'm just an asshole. I'm okay with that. Yeah, sure, it makes people uncomfortable sometimes, but everyone kind of just laughs at it, so it's okay, you know. That's when the ego is negative, because you can be funny and not an asshole. There's nothing
True.
good about there's nothing good about having a negative trait and flaunting it as like, this is me. I am the asshole. I'm the person that people dislike in the group. And some people, like I said, some people carry that shit through their whole lives. A girl I used to date, her mom still acts like she's in high school. And she's like 50 plus something. And she was also a super druggie. So, you know, she's coming up and she's like, oh, hey, do I look good in this outfit? And it's like a skimpy, you know, like high school girl outfit, you know? And she's like super wrinkly and kind of fucked up. And you're like, yeah, sure thing. If it makes you feel happy, sure. You know, and like some people hold on to that kind of stuff forever. That's why most, like I said, most adults kind of feel like bland, and it's just because they don't identify themselves with things that are super like not important, like personality traits. You are who you are. You don't have to try to be anyone different. You know what I mean? Some people get hard stuck on that. Some people are just like, but I'm the funny guy. No, you're okay to not be funny all the time. You're okay to have moments of not being funny. You don't have to try at that. You know? Or...
Yeah. Something I learned.
A lot of people in my life are very like devil's advocates. And they're just like, well, no, I used to be this way. I like seeing both sides of the argument. It's like, yeah, but that adds literally nothing to a conversation. You're just being contrary for no reason. Unless you believe the things you're saying, you're not adding to our argument. You're just pointing, you're providing counterpoints in an argument that doesn't actually exist. You know? And to be fair, it took me a long time to stop playing devil's advocate. And I mean, there's a lot of traits that like I used to associate with, like, oh, I'm someone who likes perception. I'm someone who likes looking at things from different viewpoints or whatever. And realizing that that's just not always a good thing to have, you know? You can want to understand people, sure, that's fine. But if someone's like, if you're having a discussion with someone and you just start bringing up flat earth debate topics because like you want to see their reaction to it, that's just annoying. Please stop.
Yeah, it's really annoying. It's like in high school, I had friends who were in debate. God damn, debate people are really fucking annoying sometimes. It's like, cause like I don't want to like argue this dumb point. I don't care. Like, or it's like talking about a thing, and also like one thing a lot of debate people in high school do, at least people in my school, were like try to bait you into a debate. And like, god damn, I don't care. I don't want to debate people. I find it really annoying.
Go ahead.
Oh, go on.
Okay.
I feel like you had a point building on that.
Kind of. One of my current traits that I'm currently working to fix is the need to correct people. One of the worst things about smart people is that they use the excuse, well, how will you ever know if someone doesn't correct you? People just don't need to be corrected all the time, and especially about dumb shit. Like,
You know,
if it's a
I used to do that.
serious topic, yeah, sure, whatever. If it's a dumb topic of someone just like, ah, man, my window's all foggy. I wonder why it keeps getting foggy. Maybe it's just because it's dirty. And you're like, well, no, it's actually due to the temperature difference between the outside and the inside of the car. It's causing condensation. Like, they didn't ask for that.
No.
There's a lot of times where I am trying to just listen to someone talk about something and just not correct them on something that's super irrelevant or not to the point. Especially about inane stuff that's just, it's like, it's not even that they're wrong, they just don't know exactly why something is the way it is. And that's something that, like, again, you have to break that ego of, well, if they don't know how, or if you don't tell them, how will they ever know? You just gotta let some people, jive, you know, you just gotta let some people do their thing.
I used to do that really hard, like a good while ago. I guess the only way I've stopped is just like, because I probably still do it to like some extent. But like,
I'm looking at a certain conversation in our Discord about Warhammer.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, listen, I will state the only time I ever really step that in is if you're correcting someone incorrectly. Then I'm like, okay. Then I'll step in. But also, that's a moment where I'm like, I know all this information. But nah, it's like a thing of like, most times no one cares. That was the thing I had to come up with, because it happened where I was like really fucking annoying about it, like really, really annoying. And so then it got to the point where I was like, these people don't care. And so I just had to kick that. But I guess like the bigger one, honestly, is the one he touched on of like being the funny guy that's not able to like be serious. Because I felt that, and then now, like happily now, it like hit more in high school and college, like because like a lot of things, especially with like people my age, like growing up around this, is like the sense of irony and like irony culture and like all that of like you can't like meme culture around that too. Like you can't be a genuine person. You have to have everything soaked in like 5 different layers of irony, and that's like the environment I grew up in on the internet. And eventually it was like, no, you can have a serious discussion and talk about something very seriously and earnestly, and like talk about like very serious topics without being funny. Then like I'll be jokey, be funny, but then like there's, you know, you have to have moments where you can actually connect with another human being and like state how you truly feel about something.
Yeah, and the thing is like everyone picks up kind of annoying traits growing up doing certain things. Like I said, devil's advocate is a pretty big one, just because it's not malicious. You're just counterpointing because a counterpoint exists. And the thing is it makes all your discussions just arguments that are not related to your own personal views, but you can't stop. And then there's also some people who literally just exist in meme and speak only in meme, and they're just super cringy. Like there's a ton of people who just talk meme speak all the time, or they just keep rehashing the same overplayed jokes online over and over and over. Oh, I had this kid I grew up with, and he hit the same. We liked the Grinch, right? The Jim Carrey's Grinch, and he would just quote that movie incessantly all the time. And at first excuse me, at first it was funny because I liked the Grinch. After the 20th time, it became less funny.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just some people just don't know like the cutoff point. Because I'm a person who could quote a lot of things like verbatim if I really like something. It's like Metal Gear Rising, I can quote a lot of that game, but I'm not gonna walk around and just be like, "Hello, I'm Metal Gear Rising, the person." That's who I am. That's my personality. It's weird. I've you just you gotta be a person at the end of the day. Can't exist purely quoting like Vine or like memes and talking strictly through like really dense internet slang. It's fucking weird. And like that was, I
Yeah.
know, the big thing, especially for people who grew up during 2016 internet, was like really heavy irony. And like then the
Oh
people who
god.
just like never let it stop.
Minecraft kids. Oh boy. Uh
Yeah.
it's I'm dying. It's okay. It's you hit the nail on the head. Sometimes just have a real conversation with someone. Don't just hold fast to the old memes that you live on. Cuz no one wants to hear for the 15th time your bad take on something just because that's what you've been all about. It's funny a couple times, but like sometimes people just don't need to hear the same joke for the 100th time in a row. You shouldn't identify yourself with the joke.
Yeah. It's
Unless
weird.
you're a content creator. Because that gets views.
Yeah, and you can
But if you're
milk
not a
money from it.
content creator, it's just annoying. Like I said, it was funny at one point, but it gets old. You know, you gotta stop rehashing the funny moments of your past and just kind of go beyond that. It's one of those harsh truths of growing up is growing up, you become less of a meme. Memes are great. They're a lot of fun. But when you've heard memes for 20 years, it's like, okay, can I just have a real conversation now? Can we just sit and talk like adults? Because, and this is a problem with someone like myself who has a lot of friends who are pretty substantially younger than them. Like, some of my closest friends are like at minimum 3 years younger than me. Devin's like 6 months younger than me, but most of them are, on average, I would say like 4 to 5 years younger than me. And so I had to hear the same terrible jokes all the time. And just sit here and just be like, can we just have a normal conversation for once? Can we just talk like adults? And then they screech back at me, we're not adults. And I'm like, that's right. I forgot. My apologies. Let me wait 5 years.
Yeah, dude, just wait. And you'll understand the then you know, we'll stop talking about all the sheeshes and the cringe culture and
Well, okay.
the baby.
Like, I feel like it's fascinating watching content creators nowadays because they have to keep up with the culture, right? But a lot of them are getting into like their 30s right now. The millennial crew, right? And so watching them try to adapt to meme culture is hilarious.
Oh god, yeah, I can only imagine.
Like, I think Disguised Toast does it the best because he does everything kind of ironically. And so, like, when a moment comes up, he just kind of plays up the moment like he's playing up the meme. So you know that he's playing up the meme, but he's still actually using the meme. And it doesn't feel like he's using it unironically. Uh, listening to Ludwig try to do that kind of stuff is hilarious sometimes. Because Ludwig's a super smart guy, and he's actually not. He's younger than I am. I think he just turned.
He just turned like 26.
I'm pretty sure it's 27.
I thought it was 26. He just. I know he's 25 for a while. Because for a year.
As everyone is.
Let's see. Yeah, for like 2 years or something. Yeah. No. Oh no, he is 27.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he just turned. Honestly, like it's pretty accurate. I in a way that it's put in, like I don't even watch like Ludwig's like streams or videos like as much anymore. I like his podcast a lot more, and it's like a thing in his like community, and like especially people who listen to his podcast, The Yard, where it's like when you're a kid you watch Ludwig, when you're like once you've grown up you watch The Yard, because it's like it's watching these people be funny but have like very serious like moments where they actually communicate as people.
Yeah, that's actually why I like I skipped 25. Wasn't for me.
I think I might do that soon. In like a few years I might skip 25.
I'm holding strong on to like 28 right now. I don't look 30. Fortunately, I could pass as a 28-year-old. We'll see how long that lasts. I talk like I'm 30 though.
I know, at least from what I've been told, I don't look like I look older than I am. That's just because I've been told that my entire exactly. I've been told that my entire life.
Shut up, chat. I don't need your sass.
Immediately hit.
I know. Every time my age comes up. But it's funny. It's funny watching, because I like Distractable, which is Markiplier's podcast with Bob and Wade. If you haven't listened to Bob's Fridge, that's the funniest shit I've ever heard. I think anyone can enjoy it, and it's strictly adult stuff. Because
Bob's Fridge.
Bob got a new fridge into his house, and it was the worst customer service horror story you can imagine. And listening to Bob get progressively angrier and more like animated in his voice over telling the narrative is hilarious. You don't have to like everything, but watch Bob's Fridge. That's the one piece of universal content I think is fucking hilarious. Like Mark does videos, and I think Mark takes a lot more of a mature approach to things. He doesn't do like the meme culture a lot. In fact, he kind of plays up the whole like I'm too old for this shit kind of stuff. But I definitely like stuff where he just kind of talks candidly a lot more than I like his performance stuff, because his performance stuff is very obviously performance stuff, and he does it well. Jacksepticeye is the one I think who doesn't do it well, because I think he just gets really memey, and I think he's very much clinging on to the I'm the funny guy personality.
Like, it's the kind of thing of like, I always feel like Jacksepticeye is funnier when he's not like performing for his own audience.
Yeah, I agree.
He was like one of the funniest fucking things I've ever heard him do was when he called in on one of Ludwig's streams, because Ludwig was doing a stream where he watched a bunch of famous YouTubers like first video, and he called in and was, because his first video was a Metal Gear Solid 4 like fan voice acting thing, and he's like, listen, it was a different time. Like he was like explaining himself and really defensive about it in like a really funny way.
Yeah, he's pretty good about that.
He's really funny when he's not like performing for his own audience, and I feel like that actually, funnily enough, that's something they hit on The Yard recently, of like talking about that idea from a content creator of like a lot of them are funnier when they're not performing for their own audience. That they're just funnier when they're just casually around people they like, as most people would be.
Yeah, that's why I like this podcast we do, Table Talk, because in a lot of my videos, I'm animated, I'm talking, I'm like, this is really cool, really, really good, all that kind of stuff. And here I'm just like, shut the fuck up, Alex.
I like the opportunity on Table Talk of like equally getting two parts of it. It's my typical hearing of a problem and vocalizing why the fuck do people care about this. And on the other hand, also being able to say really dumb shit like in the moment. I like that.
Yeah.
I like being able to like fuck around, be myself, but also have the moments where I can like weigh in on something.
Yeah,
It's fun.
I think the structure is pretty good. I mean, like, we kind of petered out after about an hour on the topic, but there really wasn't much more to say. It's just tabletop just needs more like actual like narrative based like motivations for players.
Yeah.
So players are motivated to look into the world, to get to know NPCs, and get bonuses from doing so, because I like that kind of stuff. Like I said, Persona 5, getting to hear the other characters' stories is not only just interesting, but you get bonuses from doing it. Be right back.
Oh no, I'm alone again. Man, we do hit this note pretty often. The whole like end of a stream is just us talking about like, man, we're older
Life.
and we learned a lot as we've
Yeah.
gotten older. I feel like that's most podcasts in general.
I think that's just because that's what I focus on a lot, because I'm in a stage of my life where I'm drastically changing everything I'm doing. Like, I'm cooking, I'm starting content creation pretty late compared to a lot of people, you know. I pretty much started almost when I turned 30. So that's like 10 years after like everyone else did content creation. And and I gotta constantly remind myself, it's not a race, you know? Like, if I get a successful channel now when I'm 30, who cares? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, you got a successful channel.
Yeah. And it just means I wasn't ready for it 10 years ago. Because I made videos like almost 10 years ago. In fact, I did make videos 10 years ago. On this channel, and the oldest one was like 9 years or something. But, so I did try. And I think that's kind of like the story I want to tell if I get successful. Is if you keep pushing and you keep like just trying, it will come back. You will get successful. I never thought we would get nearly 1,000 subscribers in less than a year. And as long as I don't get horrifically sick again, we'll probably have 5 times as much next year.
Yeah. I bet it'll be good.
I think so. I think we hit on a lot of really good things in the tabletop sphere, and I think I have a good personality for it as well. You know, someone who understands both sides of the coin, but has a very firm position that like tabletop games just need to be better, and we shouldn't be content with them as we are right now. I mean, you can enjoy them, sure. I just think they can be better. And I think there needs to be more systems to make players better players. Because it's kind of like Elden Ring or Dark Souls. Like, unless they give up, most players get better just by brute forcing through the game.
That's what I did with Bloodborne. I sucked at FromSoft games, and I was like, garbage, like horribly garbage. And I threw my head at the Cleric Beast ad nauseum, and then eventually I got good. And I was like, I get it. It's like something clicked. I beat that boss, and I was like,
right.
It's like I used the Madman's knowledge item.
Right.
It's like how it felt.
It's funny. Suzanne's been playing Cuphead recently. It's been fun to watch. Another really hard game. I know Kung Fu. Yeah. And that's why I wanted to make a tabletop game where the players get that same level of geekiness that they know about Star Trek. Like, you can watch Star Trek and not know anything about Star Trek, right? But there's some people who know how the fucking ship is like mapped out and how it works. How the fake science works.
I know they had people from the first show, they had people open those like sliding doors. Like, it wasn't automatic or anything. They just had 2 guys pulling it.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty fun. I know that red shirts die.
Yeah. But I'm talking about like the little, like, especially the Next Generation was really, really good.
I honestly want to. Like, I've seen a lot of clips from Next Generation. It looks awesome because I've seen the original series. Like, I've seen, like, at least granted, I've seen like the first season, and it was like cool, but I was like, I don't know. It's just my taste of it's too nice. It's too nice of sci-fi. They touch on a lot of really important themes, but I don't like media that you can feel good during.
That sounds like a you problem, my dude.
No, yeah, it purely is. It's 100% all me. Like, I'll be the last person to say like Star Wars or Star Trek are bad, but like I don't enjoy them as much as a lot of other people do. Because in Star Wars, my main issue is I'm like, I can't suspend my disbelief that these people wouldn't do like horrible, horrible shit. It's like, hey, use the Force. Why aren't you doing horrible shit?
I think from a perspective, that's fair. I think if you're like looking at it and you're just like, it's like plot holes, right? It's like, why did the villain not kill them right there? He literally killed like 15 schmucks up until that point. That person, oh no, they got to live because, you know, they have protagonist hair or something.
I was always of the thing of like, why isn't it like Sidious or whatever going around just like crushing people's hearts? Like, boop, 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 you're all dead. Like, why even use like a lightsaber when you can just like smush people?
Well,
like, I never understood that.
It doesn't work on Jedi because Jedi have resistance. And
fair.
Normal people, well, it's like politics. Like, you have a bunch of nations, and as powerful as Darth Sidious is, he can't like get people to follow him. He still needs supporters.
I don't know. I always feel like it's always a thing too of like this dark side user and the main character, they're so much stronger in the Force. I feel like that's got to break out their like Force defense stat at some point. Like, I don't know. It's another thing too of like, oh no, they dropped their lightsaber, and then the Sith could just go and a crush and just break their lightsaber and be, haha, you don't got a lightsaber no more. Like, I don't know. It's like a lot of that stuff, or like it's a joke of like, oh no, the Empire blew up Alderaan, and it's like, haha, first time like you've had a planet be destroyed. How lame.
Or the Death Star having a port that leads all the way to its core that has no like protection whatsoever.
Yeah, it's got a nice funnel for it, for like a ship funnel.
Also, how the fuck did that blaster just like bend 90 degrees?
I think that was like the Force or something was how it was explained. Though granted, I think there's an old college humor skit that I think puts it really well of like that complaint entirely of like, do you know how fucking like insane it is that this giant industrial like machine has a tiny little exhaust port and it still functions?
Right.
And then like pointing out like the leaps of logic of like, yeah, my blueprints didn't account for a magical space wizard shooting a bomb 90 degrees downward.
Right.
Sorry, like it's that thing. But at the end of the day, it's also just like, I can't suspend my disbelief that people with all these insane powers wouldn't be absolute pieces of shit with it. It's like, that's always my thing of like, oh man, why aren't you like villain? Why aren't you using your powers to the full extent? It's like, oh wait, this is for a different audience. I need to like pay attention to that. Like,
yeah, that's
obviously.
why like the Star Wars MMO actually does it really well. A lot, like you can be a super shitbag on both sides, on the good side and the bad side.
I've seen some dialogue stuff for the MMO, and I always thought it looked really interesting. Like, the only thing holding me back for it is that it's an MMO.
Yeah, I mean, if you ignore the MMO part, it's actually just a really good RPG.
Fair. It's about BioWare, right? Before
yes,
BioWare made, like,
yes.
the shit ones. Yes.
I
played KOTOR.
I will always remember, you're playing as a Jedi, like, apprentice on this planet. And this weird shark alien dude, like, kidnaps some other apprentices and apparently, like, is force sensitive and is like, you teach me your magic. And you're sitting there. And one of the options, and I was playing an evil Jedi apprentice because I thought that was going to be fun. One of the options is you force push him off this cliff. And it's so funny. I remember it because I push him and he goes flying. It's like Jedi, and then he like lands in like a bonfire and just explodes.
Oh my god,
it's super funny. But yeah,
that's really funny.
There's a lot of times in that game you just straight up murk people that don't jive with you too much. So
that's funny. And if you're talking about like for Dead Phoenix, like I think honestly the part I think you're describing is like the part of Star Wars I like, where this part of Star Wars I think is cool is that era of like between 3 and 4 where like the Jedi hunting, like just wiping out this entire group of people, like just killing all the Jedi, all the Inquisitors. That stuff's pretty cool. I like that stuff. And it's like, for as much as I think the Mandalorian is a good like product, like I don't like when it's set, and I think like it's just kind of like the actual universe itself is kind of boring. Like the Mandalorian show is really good, and like that time period of between 3 and 4 is properly kind of fucked, and that's cool. But other than that, meh. But Darth Vader in the comics fucking slaps. I'll give him that.
It's so depressing to see Darth Vader in the comics and then Darth Vader anywhere else.
Yeah.
He's so much more badass in the comics.
He's so terrible. Oh, actually, it's the comics and then Jedi Fallen Order.
It's true.
Vader's terrifying in Fallen Order.
Terrifying. Oh my god, I remember first time getting to play Vader, and just like his force push is just taking out a bazillion Wookiees. It's like, oh my god.
Oh, we're talking about different games, but I completely agree. The Force Unleashed, yeah, no, that segment's really good. Series. Yeah, well, technically Force Unleashed is like completely not canon anymore, sadly, which sucks. The Starkiller's great. But, like, and the Force for Fallen Order, it's the Dark Souls style Star Wars game.
Right.
Yeah, and at the end of it, like, is you running away from Darth Vader as he's not holding his lightsaber, he's just walking towards you, and everything around you is crushing and like actively trying to kill you. And then when you do actually have like a lightsaber fight with him, like in a cutscene and like slight gameplay bits, he's one-handed, like not doing anything. He's like really not expending any energy at taking you and this other character out. And like at that point, it's like, this is fucking terrifying. Like, holy shit. It's the only time I've ever been like, Darth Vader, you know what? He's pretty cool.
Yeah, see, Darth Vader is always best represented when he is an unstoppable killing machine.
Yeah, and then there's like these few moments that are like really cool with him. I like the conversation, and I think 6, when he's like taking to the Emperor, where he basically has this moment where he's like, where Luke's like trying to convince him like there's still good in you, and Darth Vader's like, that part of me died a long time ago. Like that conversation is properly good and sad and good, well written. And then then other than that, it's just like cool suit. He has a red lightsaber and he chokes people.
Yep, and he's dead. Yeah.
And then in the comics, it's like, damn, this is a really complex character.
Yeah, complex character. His force powers are shot through the roof. Yeah. Anyway, we've gone way over today.
Oh shit! Yeah, we have.
We just been kind of bullshitting. So thank you all for those who have been sticking around for our bullshit. Hopefully next week videos will continue. Obviously, can't tell. Still not 100. So I'm not going to force myself to do videos this week. To the detriment of the channel, I know. But what can you do? You know, one-man crew and I'm sick. Even if I had editors, I can't really... can't really record. At least not to the quality I would like.
Yeah, I thought about that. I was like, man, I could totally offer like to edit, but on the other hand, I was like, I know for a fact the problem isn't the editing, it's the actually being able to record.
Yeah.
And I was like, so it wouldn't do much. Because unless you had like a few videos like ready to edit, that offer wouldn't really help you in any like actual regard.
Yeah, and the only video I had was Vampire, and I did that last week, so.
Exactly.
No, it's okay. I appreciate the thought. But yeah, thank you all for being here. Interesting discussion. I feel like... I do honestly feel like D&D and Pathfinder are just not at their full power and have a lot of room to grow. That doesn't make them any less fun. It doesn't make them bad games by any means. But it's like watching anime. You can have anime you like, and then there's also just anime masterpieces. You know, that kind of hit all the grounds. It's like, you can really, really, really like Dragon Ball Z, sure. You like the characters, or you like the action, or you just like how silly it is sometimes. But you put it up next to Full Metal Alchemist, and like Full Metal Alchemist just has more, and honestly more interesting combat scenes, in my opinion.
True. I keep recommending it to people, and I like to friends who have like actually like have never watched an anime, and then I'm like, oh yeah, they're like, oh yeah, what's a good one? Then I'm like, oh, Full Metal Alchemist, and then everyone else is like, yeah. It's like everyone I've talked to is like Full Metal Alchemist slaps.
Yeah, it's universally just a beloved anime, and you know. That's just going to be a thing. It's like, you can still like Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z was still very popular, or Dragon Ball in general.
Fun. It's a fun series.
It made more than Full Metal Alchemist ever will, you know, like in advertising, in product, and everything. Like, it outperformed in everywhere. So you can't say it's bad. Just some stuff has more. And that's kind of, you know, like what I feel like with tabletop. That's the kind of tabletop game I want to make, is when I get the time, you know, I want to sit down, and I want to get to the point where I can eventually get like designers to sit down with me to help me make stuff as well. Get some people to kind of alleviate the weight and who have more experience in the fields, to make a game that just has everything and is like, it's moddable. You can play the game however you want and not feel like you're missing something. If you don't do any of the social stuff, you won't feel bad. If you don't do any of the combat stuff, you won't feel bad. I want a game that feels very like augmentable on your own playstyle, so you can pick and choose the parts you really like and have a really good system to fill those parts out. That's what I really want. I want something that is as customizable as DMs are for things like D&D and Pathfinder. But yeah, I guess with that, we're just going to go ahead and say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.